Breaking news: Australia is on the brink of rolling out a national digital ID, and critics warn it could be the first step toward a surveillance state. Supporters say it will make life simpler, but opponents argue it could give the government unprecedented power to track and control citizens. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'll break down exactly what's happening, why it matters, and how it could change the way every Australian lives. For months, the government has been laying the groundwork for a national digital ID framework. The idea is simple on paper. Instead of carrying multiple physical documents like passports, driver's licenses, and Medicare cards, Australians would have a single secure digital identity that can be used to verify who they are both online and in person. Think of it as a central key that unlocks everything: banking, government services, healthcare, even travel. It's being sold as convenient, modern, and efficient. But behind the slick marketing is a deeper debate about freedom, privacy, and trust. Here's what we know. The government insists that a digital ID will not be mandatory, at least not at the start. They say it will be voluntary, designed to cut down on fraud, protect against identity theft, and make services more accessible. Already, millions of Australians have used forms of digital ID in limited settings, such as logging in to government portals or verifying their identity for online banking. The plan now is to expand this into a national framework that brings all these systems under one umbrella, regulated and managed at a federal level. But critics are not buying it. Privacy advocates are warning that once such a system is in place, the temptation for mission creep will be impossible to resist. What begins as a voluntary system could slowly become unavoidable, with businesses, banks, and agencies requiring it as the default. And once everyone is tied into a single digital identity, the government would effectively have the power to track, monitor, and restrict access to services in ways that have never been possible before. It's no wonder opponents are using the phrase surveillance state to describe what's unfolding. We only need to look at international examples to see why this debate is so heated. In countries like China, digital identity systems have been tied to social credit scores, where your access to travel, loans, or even education can be restricted if you fall out of line with government expectations. Now, to be clear, Australia is not China, and officials insist nothing like that is on the table. But the fear is that once the infrastructure exists, future governments, regardless of who's in power, could expand it in directions we can't predict today. What if certain services become locked unless you comply with new regulations? What if your digital identity becomes the key to everything, and without it, you're effectively locked out of society? Another concern is security. Centralizing identity into a digital system creates a single point of failure. Hackers, cybercriminals, or even hostile foreign governments could target the system, and if breached, the fallout could be catastrophic. Imagine millions of people having their digital identities compromised in one attack. It would make today's data leaks look trivial by comparison. Critics argue that no system, no matter how well designed, can ever be completely secure, and that the risks far outweigh the supposed convenience. On the other hand, supporters argue the current system is already broken. Australians juggle multiple IDs, all vulnerable to theft or forgery. Fraud costs billions every year, and cybercrime is on the rise. A properly built digital ID, they say, could actually enhance privacy by reducing the need to constantly hand over sensitive personal information. Instead of showing your entire driver's license just to prove your age, you could share only the relevant detail, like simply confirming you're over 18. Proponents also argue that digital ID could make life much simpler. One login, one secure credential, usable across countless services. So where does the truth lie? As always, somewhere in the middle. The digital ID itself is not inherently evil or dangerous. It's a tool, and like any tool, it depends on how it's used. But what has Australians worried is trust. Do we really trust governments, present or future, to handle that kind of power responsibly? After years of scandals, data leaks, and questionable decisions, public confidence is low. And in politics, perception matters as much as policy. If people feel they're being forced into a system they don't trust, backlash will be swift and fierce. Right now, the government is trying to walk a tightrope. They're reassuring the public that participation will remain optional, while at the same time encouraging businesses and agencies to adopt the framework. The more it spreads, the harder it will be to avoid. That's why privacy experts say the time to have this debate is now, not years down the track when the system is already entrenched and impossible to roll back.